10 years now in total that we have been investing in real estate. And that is so crazy to me. 10 years. It has been 5 years since I talked online about our real estate portfolio and our real estate journey. So I just wanted to do an update because so much has changed. But yes, we are still real estate investors. That is one of our exit strategies for life. I don't talk much about it anymore. I wasn't sure who all was interested in it. When you're in the journey, it's very hard to focus on the journey itself and also try to share every little detail. It's such a whirlwind, and when you're learning at the same time as gaining momentum, you may stumble along the way and have some hardships and things that you really need to get down and focus on. Since 2019 was the last time I talked about it, I do want to update because I get so many questions in person about whether or not we are still even doing it. Those who know that that is one of our main focuses in life. Between that, our 4 children, and our 9-to-5 jobs, we definitely stay busy. Where we left off was in 2019 before the chaos. At that point, I think we had probably like 7 or 8 rental properties. We just completed our own home, which my husband assisted on. He didn't actually build this one totally by himself, but he learned a lot. And from that point was able to go and start GCing his own projects. We kept our portfolio of rentals. A lot of times we would leverage the equity in the rentals. We also used hard money lending and commercial lending from the banks. Of course, when 2020 came along, everything was uncertain. We still had, I believe, 1 new build when everything kind of got shut down, and we weren't sure how that was going to go, but it went well. Because of that, we continued just one at a time with the new builds and continuously looking for new properties to add to the rental portfolios. At that time, of course, everyone was scared to buy. One thing I always said to my husband was, whatever I see the masses doing, I look at the opposite. I don't just jump full all in, but you do have to look at what people are not doing to fill in the gaps. At that time, people, of course, were not buying because it was a very uncertain time, and the interest rates were so low. Oh my God, they were so low, like non-existent. So we were able to acquire some rentals at that time. When 2021 came along, we were still buying rentals, but we were also looking to start flips because everything was still so cheap at the time compared to now and compared to before. Everything at that time was pretty cheap. So I kind of was totally against flips altogether. They glamorize it on TV, and I just knew that once you get in there, you don't really know what you're getting till you get in there. There are some crazy builds, y'all. There are some crazy builds. We did purchase 2 to flip, and we didn't get rid of those until I think 1 at the end of 2022 and 1 at the beginning of 2023. Those were literally break even. To me, it's kind of a financial loss because a lot of time and sweat equity is put in to just break even financially. Stress, just mental capacity to me wasn't even worth it. But you add on the physical, the back and forth, like just, it was just too much to break even. So I consider those a loss. My husband considers those break even, but whatever. Agree to disagree. At that point, we didn't really know if we were going to still do the flips. I still was against them, but he had a little bit more optimistic look and kind of learned from those 2 about certain margins and certain markets. And those homes were also in areas that we had never dealt with before. We didn't own, I don't think we owned any rentals in those areas. No, we didn't own any rentals in those areas, and he had not built any new builds in those areas. So the areas were new to us. That was a little naive on our part. And so later we ended up buying 2 more flips in 2023, which actually went well, but they took a little bit of time. And again, the market had started to kind of slow down. The interest rates were just so high. So people who were buying in 2021 and 22, it like came to a screeching halt at the end of 2022. And so in 2023, it did take a little bit longer to get those turned over, but those went pretty well. We went ahead and bought 1 more this year and flipped that one really quickly for a great profit. I'm still not a big fan of the flips, but there's potential. And if you find a great deal, you might as well maximize that opportunity. So that's where I am now with the flips. The rentals, slow and steady wins the race. Today, after we had continued through 2020 purchasing rentals. Oh, okay. So 2023, one of our big projects was this 100-year-old home. This house was 100 years old. It was in a great area. If you're familiar with the Dallas area, it's the Bishop Arts area, but it's at the very end where they're just now starting to really kind of build it out. It wasn't in the main, couple of blocks of Bishop. We saw the potential, which I am thrilled about, because this particular house had a huge backyard. We ended up buying this pretty much abandoned home. I think it was 12 years since anyone had even been in it. There was vandalism and stuff inside. It was just a mess. We bought this home for $225,000. We ended up getting it completely redone from the inside. Foundation, plumbing, HVAC, just everything. It was a lot of fun, but it was a lot of stress, but we knew that we were going to be keeping this one. So it was kind of like a passion project. It wasn't as scary as the other ones that we had to flip. By the time we finished that one, we did get it refinanced through a bank, and we did a cash out refinance. So it appraised for $600,000. We were able to cash out. We didn't take the full amount of the loan, but we were able to cash out and get our money back and still put a note on it and rent that home out. Well, at the same time we were renovating that one, we got permitted to do an ADU in the back, which is an additional dwelling unit. With that, we were able to put basically a 1-bedroom apartment on top of a garage. It's also in like a historic district, so getting some of the permits was a pain and took a little bit longer than we're used to. That was interesting, but we did learn a lot. So it being in a historic district, they had a lot of stipulations to put on the ADU. So we had to build a smaller unit. It couldn't be too taller than the original house. The square footage had to be smaller and all the things. Basically, that was like a 2-for-1. So the money that we refinanced with the cash that we got out, like I said, we got our money back in pocket, and we also were able to build another unit. So that's another door in our portfolio. So we currently have 17 single family homes being rented. And then we have one duplex that we're renovating. And when that's done, of course, we'll rent that out. And then we have the additional dwelling unit. So there's 20 rental properties altogether. And right now, though, technically 2 of those are together in a duplex and they're being renovated. Oh, no, actually, we have 21 currently. So there's another home right now that's not being rented out because it's being renovated. And it's another 100-year-old home. How could I forget? I was just with my husband in our shed pulling out supplies to design the bathroom. So when we do these projects, he is basically the everything other than design. I'm the designer, the interior designer. So a lot of the supplies we get great deals on. We had a shed built in our backyard to put supplies in. And so we go out there and see what we have first. We were able to do all 3 bathrooms and kitchen as far as like tiling, floors, showers, walls, things like that, with what we already keep in our own little inventory. And so this morning we were pulling things for this other 100-year-old home. I'm trying not to stress as much about this one as I did about the other one, so I kind of forgot a little bit for a minute. So currently we have 21 rentals, but 3 of them are being renovated. We have one under contract right now. And the funny thing is, the first 100-year-old home in the Bishop Arts District, we loved that one so much. We were so proud of that one. We were so happy with the end result as far as the financial aspect, but also just the physical home. Love it. And the first duplex that we were able to actually get is also on the same street on the other end. And the current home that we have under contract that I pray that we do get, because I'm already designing it, is on the same street. So I feel like that's like a sign. I believe that we're going to get it. I'll have to update you, but I think that particular area is going to continue to grow. I think that those properties will continue to be beneficial to us, and I just love the area over there. I love the homes, the character that they give. So anyway, yes, we have a lot of rentals. When we first started, we both individually had our own loans so that we could grow faster. So we tell everyone before they get married to buy your own home in your own name so that you can qualify for more homes in a portfolio if that is something that you're trying to do. When we first got married, our personal home was in his name, and then we started buying the rentals in my name, and then we went to his after we cleared mine up, and then we came back to me till eventually we had to get a commercial portfolio loan because we had too many properties under just, the individuals. Right now we have the remaining rentals with notes under a commercial portfolio loan. Right now, as we're in growth mode, of course, we're not paying those off. We're letting the people who rent there pay those slowly over time. We're building the equity. Sometimes we can put HELOCs on and get the cash out. Sometimes we do cash out refinance, which of course with the rates right now, we haven't been doing the refinance thing unless it's when we acquire a brand new property. If it's something that we had, like private lending or something like that 100-year-old home. In order to get the deal quickly, we may use hard money lending or something like that just to have a cash offer. And then once we get everything renovated, we have that ARV value to refinance on. And so you can always refinance later. At a time right now where the city is growing so quickly and it's getting harder and harder to find deals every day, like good deals, we're trying to move as quickly as possible. So it may not be in your best interest depending on what area you're in, what part of the country you're in, the cities, the states. But here in Dallas, it's very competitive. So that's just something that we've had to do in order to still be competitive in this market. As far as new builds go, I think we started out with doing like one a year until we kind of figured out the momentum, and then it got to two a year. Now it's like one every 2 months. We had started that. I think 2018 was the first. 2018 or 2019 was the first. So of course, starting before 2020, once 2020 hit and everything slowed down, we still were taking our time just to be sure, one at a time. I think it was 2022 when we kind of picked up momentum. So last year was really the first year that we increased the new builds. We have a good bank of lots. We have about 18 to 20 lots because we're constantly acquiring new ones and selling off ones that may not be as good if we come across better ones. So we're just constantly, trying to better our land bank. So right now, anywhere between 18 to 20 vacant lots that we own. And currently there's I think 5 under contract. So we'll put them under contract. My husband will go to the city, get all the surveying, because the city online information is not always accurate. Same with like flood zones and things like that. FEMA may be different from the actual city, and if you have to get permits through the city, you got to make sure that you're following that. So when we get the lots under contract, my husband goes to the city and actually talks to the people to figure out what's going on with these lots while it's under option period. From there, we figure out what we can actually do, what it's zoned for. That's a whole nother thing too. Zoning right now in Dallas is changing a lot. And again, it's not always correct either. So knowing what you're actually zoned for, what the survey's looking like, how much actual square footage that you have or access that you have, all those things are just so important to figure out before you finalize that contract on lands. Right now, we have several in that process. I think most of those options end on Friday. I think we have 1 or 2 that may end on Monday. So constantly searching for lots, and that is getting more and more scarce here as well. And that's in the city of Dallas. Like we like the Dallas proper zip codes. Eventually we know we're going to have to venture out, which is what we did with those flips into different cities within the DFW Metroplex. The city is so large. So as long as, we can maximize the Dallas area because this is where we live, this is what we're familiar with, we're going to do that for as long as possible. Again, just to kind of recap everything, there's 21 rentals currently in our portfolio. A couple of those, like I said, are still being rehabbed. Then we have the land bank, 18 to 20 lots, and we're still building brand new builds that my husband GCs himself about every 2 to 3 months, I would say, because between the time it takes to build and then permitting and all the things, supplies, putting in the orders and getting it sold. Yeah, so about every 3 months, I'll say. It's hard to keep everything straight. We're just in a whirlwind. We just take it day by day, and it's really exciting. Sometimes it's scary. You have to push through the fear. You just have to trust that everything will be okay, but do as much due diligence as you possibly can and just work through it. If things come up, you just have to work through it. And I think both of us are really good at problem solving and thinking things through, but trusting ourselves and pushing through fear. That's the main thing. Pushing through fear, because a lot of people let the fear stop them or prevent them from getting started in the first place. On top of that, we just mentor people one-on-one, just offline, like no courses, no books, no nothing. We just genuinely help people and love to help people. And hopefully we can get more people on board. It's great to have a network because a lot of people that we've brought in now have met other people and they have their own electricians or their own plumbers, and we're able to share and network. So that's really a benefit to all of us. That's been very rewarding. If you end up having any questions, just reach out and we'll give the knowledge that we have. We don't know everything. We never claim to know everything, but we will definitely share all all the ups and downs, the wins and the failures, just to help any and everyone who wants to learn. Hopefully I can document the actual journey from this moment on, and maybe that will help some people. I can definitely talk more about some of the failures. I think people like to hear about that to know what not to do, which is helpful. The wins also. So I will do updates if this gets any kind of positive feedback. It's been 10 years now in total that we have been investing in real estate. And that is so crazy to me. 10 years. 10 years to me feels like a long time, but it's not a long time in the grand scheme of real estate. Like, people have been in that game for generations. And so we are just getting started. But it's a good feeling. 10 years in the game. That's crazy. Anyway, thanks for listening to my TED Talk, and see you soon. Bye.